monthly or bi-monthly webinar that we have once or twice a month called Engaging Customers in Conversation. Hopefully you have taken the more general Introduction to Growth Wheel Tools webinar. If not, don't go away. You'll just sort of have to catch up with us, but that's fine. My name is Karen Goldner, and I am the director of the Small Business Development Center at the Women's Business Development Center here in Chicago. You are all on the call in mute mode. As you go along, please go ahead and feel free to use the question box to type in any questions or problems that you might be having. If they're technical problems, I'm not sure I can help you, but if you have any questions throughout the broadcast, and we can address your questions. The hand button, the raising hand feature does not work on this webinar, so please don't use that. So what will you be learning in this webinar today? Really how to learn more about your market, which is something obviously as entrepreneurs we always need to be focused on. So we're going to describe how you can get a better understanding of your customer, how to analyze areas of your customer's current situation, particularly obviously as it concerns your business, and then better plan your communications and determine which vehicles, what media would make the most sense. This is often called customer discovery or customer validation. If you've heard of Steve Blank, B-L-A-N-K, he's kind of the guru of this. And you can find a lot of videos that either he has done or people like him have done online with more of a focus on high-tech startups. However, the process that they talk about and that we'll be talking about today are equally useful really in other types of business, both at the startup stage and as you go along to develop your business. During the webinar, there's going to be several tools that you will be able to download. And if you look over on the right-hand side of your screen, you'll see the handouts tab that's listed, and it should say handouts-3. So there's 3 items there. There's an article, there's a growth wheel tool, and a growth wheel framework. And you can download those at any time during the webinar. They will not be available after the webinar due to a license agreement that we have with Growth Wheel. So please remember at any time to go ahead and download those. At the end, there will be opportunities to ask questions and get feedback, but as I said at the beginning of the webinar, for the folks who are joining us, welcome. Please go ahead and feel free to type a question in whenever you have it, and if it's something that makes sense for me to respond to right away, I will, and if not, I'll answer it later, so don't worry about that. And then I think that it's important to look at this as an introductory step to this topic, and we'll talk more about how to work with a business advisor at the end of the webinar. So let's hear from you all. I'd like to find out where everybody is from. So if we could have poll 1, please, to ask people where you are from. So it should be posting shortly. Here it looks like it's posting. So if you want to go ahead and let us know, are you from the Chicagoland area, somewhere else in Illinois, somewhere else in the Midwest, or somewhere else in the United States? And it looks like we've got everybody has voted, and 2/3 of you, just about, are from the Chicago region. Someone else from another Midwestern state, welcome, and someone else from some other part of America. So glad that you are all with us. And let's go ahead and do number 2 also, please. Poll number 2, which will ask you, how did you hear about this webinar? Just like you, we always care about how our customers, and that's you, hear about us. Thank you all for voting. So it looks like the majority heard about it from our website, but also some from an e-blast and e-newsletter, and also from coming to one of our in-person workshops. So glad that you're here. We do have a question, and I'm going to ask Eleni, who is our person in the background. She's having trouble downloading the handouts. She tried right-clicking and then tried opening. Neither worked. Eleni, if you have any suggestions, can you please let me know? So let's go ahead and proceed with just a quick review of what Growth Wheel is all about. As you'll recall, there are 4 quadrants of this tool, and really every customer or every business needs to be able to address them. You need an attractive business concept, you need lasting customer relations, you need to be able to operate profitably, and you need a strong organization. And then within each of those quadrants, there's 5 focus areas for a total of 20. And today we're going to be focusing on the customer relations section, which is network and marketing. Every month we try to pick from a different area to focus on. So let's talk through some of these things in the article, and I do hope that you have a chance to read it later. And Amanda, we're still working on making this work for you to be able to download them. The article itself discusses, oh, looks like it worked, thank you. The article discusses 4 ways of obtaining information from your customers: in person, by phone, a mail survey, and an online survey. And one of the benefits of an online survey, in addition to it being usually easier for people to do, because you can do it at any time that you want, from your point of view as the entrepreneur. But the most interested people are going to be the ones who respond to it. Somebody who doesn't care won't respond, and that helps you decide, okay, well, they're not interested in my good or service potentially. The article talks about how to undertake the survey, and I'm not going to go into that during this webinar very much, but you really want to think through your questions deeply. You will have one chance at most to ask people. So make sure you get what you need to know, but also not so many questions that people will just, give up and get tired of answering, and then you just don't have the participation. Think about, obviously, when you want to, or when you're being asked to participate in a survey, keeping it short and sweet is really important. It's really important on the more general question of customer conversations that you're not selling at this point, right? There's no selling being done here. It's about listening and gaining insight. So here's a few questions on the screen, and this is taken right out of the article, so you'll have it later, of the different areas that you want to be able to identify. Don't think that the best way, certainly not the only way, to gain customer insight is through a survey. My personal opinion is that you're better off having live conversations with people. Those are harder to get. People are busy and so forth, but you'll get better insight if you can talk to people one-on-one, with the phone being second best to in person, and then a survey being kind of lesser down that path of effectiveness. So you want to find out about your customers' needs. Again, we're not focused on selling here. We're focused on learning the customer's perspective. In addition to what their needs are, you then want to find out how are those needs being currently addressed. This is particularly true if you're either starting a business or wanting to expand a business. There really aren't any human needs that people are not currently addressing. So the fact that you want to open a new clothing boutique, people are obviously getting clothes now. So what you want to do is make sure you understand how they're currently getting those needs met. You also want to think through, when we say needs, what those needs are. And let's stay with the example of a clothing boutique, because obviously people buy clothes now, and they buy clothes from a wide variety of vendors, right? Everything from very expensive boutiques and online, and all the way down to mass market. So you want to focus on who your ideal customer is. So if you are selling high-end fashion that's focused on young women, then a 65-year-old man isn't your target customer. And so you really don't care how he is getting those needs met right now. What you want to do is focus on your customer. Similarly, in the same sort of store, a 25-year-old low-income woman, or maybe even a moderate-income woman, isn't your target market. So you want to focus on how are people who are likely to buy your product, your good or your service, getting those needs met now. And further then, the customer's point of view. So you're seeking insight here. It's not just about getting data. Having 75 people, tell you how old they are or something, that's very factual, is not necessarily your goal. What you want to do is you want to get insight into their viewpoint. The article then actually suggests that you go back to the respondents a couple of weeks later to try to sell them. And at that point, your conversation is reasonably fresh in their mind, and you'll be offering them products, goods, or services that are for sale that address their needs. So you've heard them, and you're responding. So that's a good technique. And then the last piece I want to talk about from the article is focused on understanding your customer. In a B2C environment, a business-to-consumer environment, obviously people make decisions different ways, and you want to understand that, but it's relatively straightforward. I am the person who decides what kind of clothing I want to buy. But in a B2B environment, a business-to-business company, it becomes much more critical to understand because people say, well, my customer is a business, or I'm selling to the government. It's not helpful to think about it that way. You are actually selling to individual people. Now, those people operate within a process within their corporation. So, you may have Allstate Insurance writing the check to you, but there's a series of people within Allstate who makes the decision that they're going to buy your marketing services, for instance. So you want to have a deep understanding of that. And B2B sales can be a terrific way to sell. It can be a terrific business model, but you have to recognize that you have a little bit more of a wrinkle in understanding your customer. So it's not just understanding what they buy, but understanding how they buy it and who makes those decisions. So let's go ahead and bring up another couple polls. So if we could bring up poll 3, please, just to find out how long folks have been in business. That kind of helps me with some of this specifically when you're talking about this customer discovery. So if you could please go ahead and vote. If you're new, been in business for a few years, or a couple years, or been in business more than 3 years. Okay, well, just about everybody has voted. So we've got, looks like a split between people who are at the concept and early planning stage, and then also people who have been in business for more than 3 years. So the timing of what you do with this information is different. If you've been in business more than 3 years and you're looking to just grow your existing sales, you can take this insight that you gain and really work on it immediately, right? You can immediately use it in your sales and marketing. If you're more in the business planning stage, then obviously it's going to go into your business planning and may not then hit the market for a little while. But I think that both kinds of businesses will benefit from this sort of information, hopefully. And then let's do poll 4, please, which is, have you ever worked with an SBDC before? That's a small business development center. We are across the country, so our friends who are calling from out of the state of Illinois will also have access to a small business development center near you. So if we could get poll 4 up, please. Thanks. Hopefully we're getting to that. Here we go, poll 4. So if you could just let me know, it's helpful for us to know whether you've worked with us as the WBDC, another Illinois SBDC, because we are part of this network that's all around the state, or if you work with somebody out of state. Terrific. It looks like, yeah, and I did recognize some names on the call, so we've got some WBDC clients and then also people who work with SBDCs across the state. So thank you very much for that. Okay. One last refresher on the growth wheel process. Every tool has a number of characteristics, and I'm just going to walk through them actually on this slide here to show you. So we have a title and benefit. We have the title obviously here, then the benefit. Point of this customer dialogue tool. This is one of the ones that you should be downloading, and just to remind you, you do need to download them during the webinar. The benefit is you're going to find ways to engage your customers in conversation. Then there's an intention, a process, and then some next steps that you'll see down below. As you might notice when you start to look at them, these tools are PDFs, and you can fill them in, change them, save them, make copies, use them over time. However, they're valuable to you. The point of this particular tool is to really help you leverage your activities and your contacts. So for instance, if you're looking at the events section here, right up here, maybe you're going to be going to a trade show. So let's think about then how you can utilize and leverage your contacts that you'll be having at the trade show to gain this insight. Having perhaps a list of some questions that you can make sure that you ask people as you encounter them. Maybe you might want to have a very short paper survey that's available at your trade show booth if you're going to actually be distributing. So this is really a visual checklist to help you plan your activities using your social media, your customer involvement, focus groups sometimes, during the customer service process for those of you who are in business. Cold call selling is hard, as everybody knows. Cold call surveying is even harder. So you really want to leverage your contacts and leverage your other opportunities, like for instance at a seminar or a trade show. Whenever possible, you want to try and have some kind of warm introduction. Gosh, you know, our mutual friend Susie Jones suggested that you might have some good insight into the marketing business that I might be able to gain from, for instance. So you want to have established some kind of commonality that helps get responses, whether that's a one-on-one response or to a survey. But the other thing I always like to tell people is don't make it so hard that you can't ever do it, right? The perfect is the enemy of the good. One-on-one communication can be much more effective and sometimes easier to do if you're not good at surveys and so forth than a focus group, right? So if it's going to take you, 6 hours to plan a focus group, why don't you spend some of that time just on the phone or at an event talking with people one-on-one, because that's probably better feedback anyway. The key is to start the conversation. So then how do you follow up? You get all this insight, all of this great information, and you need to do something with it, right? So the article suggests that you do it fairly soon if you're already in business, maybe within a couple weeks. When that's pretty self-evident if you have a good or service that's already available. So you're already selling and you just want to know how to do it more effectively. So you can reach back out to those respondents and provide them with an offer that's responsive to their needs. But you want to use this insight for much more than just the individual people who have responded to your survey or talked with you on the phone or however you've been getting these conversations going. You want to think through how you can use all of it in your marketing and advertising. So what are the deep problems that you're solving? And the closer you are to a deep need or emotion, the better. So back on this clothing topic, right, that I'm starting this new boutique, obviously protecting people from the elements really isn't a need that I'm fulfilling, because there's lots of other ways to do that. What I'm trying to do is perhaps help people feel more stylish. Perhaps they feel the need to fit in with their friends, or perhaps they feel the need to stand out from their friends in how they present themselves. So those are the kinds of insights that you really can only get by listening to your customers and to your target customers. So perhaps your newly found insight will change some of your advertising messages. Perhaps it will change how you promote, right, your promotional strategy. Maybe people are saying, well, in order to be interested in a new food product, I really need to taste it, because part of what I want to do with my new, you know, when I buy a new food product is I want to know if it tastes good. And so perhaps that changes your promotional strategy. Oops, sorry, that was too soon. And maybe, and it's not listed on this marketing fan, but one of the P's of marketing, of course, is product. Maybe it will lead you to new product development or product refinement. So perhaps what you have developed as a product could be even better, even hit the market more with some modifications. Okay, now let's talk about next steps. So you want to be working through the customer dialogue tool. That was the checkbox on your own for your own business. And again, don't, on any of these things, they're designed to be helpful for you. So don't get too hung up on the format of the tool. A lot of them are just there to help you kind of guide some brainstorming on your part. You can make an appointment if you want to see either Meg Herman or myself here at the Women's Business Development Center. We are the certified growth wheel advisors if you're in the Chicago area, which most of you are. And for our friends who are elsewhere in Illinois or out of state, you can go to sba.gov for Small Business Administration.gov, SBA, and just type in your state. And we've got a very active network throughout Illinois, and there really aren't any parts of the United States that don't have an SBDC, and the Growth Wheel tool is used by most, or at least many of the states' SBDC networks. So I want to do the last couple of polls. If we can pull up poll 5 now. So I just want to find out if how interested folks are in using this for their business or business planning. So if you might be so kind as to answer these questions. If you're going to use it to work through for a business plan, if you want to make an appointment. One of the things that's really nice about the Growth Wheel tools are that you can, now that you have them, fill them out in advance if you want, and it can really be a way to guide your discussion with your advisors. And it looks like people are going to be using these in the future, so that's great to know. And then poll number 6, please. If you're a veteran, specifically interested in child care or in the Aurora, Illinois area, the reason we ask these rather random-seeming questions is that we do have services available through our Veteran Business Outreach Center for veterans, and then some specific programs also for child care, and have just opened a Women's Business Center in Aurora. So it looks like we have one veteran on the call. Thank you very much for your service to our country, so we appreciate that. The Women's Business Development Center does provide a wide variety of business services for, frankly, a wide variety of businesses, from people who are just starting businesses to very established businesses. We certify Women Business Enterprise National Council, which is called WBE, certifications for women-owned businesses, particularly those who want to sell to corporations. And we provide what's called the Procurement Technical Assistance Center services, PTAC services, for companies, both women-owned and non-women-owned businesses who want to sell to the government, and we can provide a lot of good information and help you, kind of guide you through that process. So you can go to growthwheel.com to get a little bit better sense of some of the other tools, and we do, as I said before, these workshops, these webinars regularly. So if you want to schedule an appointment, you can just give us a call, and I'll give you the number in just a second on the next slide. For all SBDCs, counseling or advising sessions are always provided at no cost to you. Your tax dollars have paid for those. Thank you very much. And we can either set up a time to meet in person or by phone, whatever is convenient for you. So if you're in Illinois, you can work with the Women's Business Development Center, and our phone number is right there, 312-853-3477, extension 100. And if you have been in business for several years, feel free to set up a session with me, Karen Goldner. If you're a newer business, you can set up an appointment with either Meg Herman or myself. If you have general questions about starting a business that are more just, how do I do an LLC and all of that, check out our website, wbdc.org. We do a monthly Starting a Business in Illinois workshop, and we also have a variety of other presenters or other advisors. It's probably not relevant to you because I think if the folks on this call didn't speak English, you would have hung up long ago. But all of our services are provided in Spanish. So if you are either for yourself or for somebody you know, if that would be a more convenient way to receive services, we have a number of very skilled business advisors who speak Spanish as a primary language. So that is that. And back to me. Again, there's our phone number for counseling. And we're open for a few minutes for questions. So definitely want to hear how you have, if you have questions about how to use this, or if you've tried this yourself and how did it work out. So you can just type them into the question box. Well, one question is how do you quantify this? How many people do you need to talk to? How does that work? And if you were to look at what Steve Blank, as I said at the beginning, he's kind of the guru of this, Steve Blank would say you need to talk to 100 people. And there's certainly nothing wrong with talking to 100 people. But I would say, if you start to talk to more than 10 people, you really are going to start to get insight. The risk of speaking to just 1 or 2 people, of course, is that you may end up talking to people who are not necessarily your target customer, or they may have, frankly, strange ideas or things that work for them that don't work for anybody else. And if you only talk to 1 or 2 people, you may end up being kind of sent down a rabbit hole, so to speak. But once you've talked with, 10, a dozen, something like that, then I think that you start to have a better sense of that. It kind of prevents you from being distracted by somebody who's got very unique needs. The other thing is, though, that let's just say that you want to start a business and that you talk to 15 or 20 people, and only 3 of them say kind of a common thing. Everybody else is saying something else. Well, even though it's only 3 people saying that, there may be a real business idea there. So it's not like you need the majority to vote for you or anything in order for this to work. You just need to understand how deep that niche is or how big the market is. So this isn't an election. It's trying to gain insight again. Are there any other questions? So I am going to end the webinar in a couple minutes if there aren't any more. Definitely appreciate your being here for it today. I want to remind you that we have some upcoming workshops since many of you are in the Chicago area. I'll let you know about a couple that we have coming up specifically on site on the 4th of February, which is next week. We will be having a Grow Your Business with the WBDC Introduction to Services workshop. That's in the evening at our office down on Michigan Avenue. You may have heard that I'm on Michigan Avenue with some of the traffic noise in the background. And then the following week, we've got a Starting a Business in Illinois workshop, which we do every month. And then the next Growth Wheel topic webinar that we're going to be having is going to be February 17th, and that will be on improving cash flow. So thank you all very much for joining us. Hope to see you soon in real life or on our next webinar. And again, our website, wbdc.org, for a full events calendar. Thank you very much, and have a great afternoon. Bye-bye.